The day Charles was lowered into the ground, the sky itself seemed to close in on me. 43 years of marriage, gone in a matter of seconds. People kept touching my arm, whispering, "He had a good life," or "Stay strong, Eleanor." But their words slid off me like rain on glass. Rachel stood beside me in a black dress that probably cost more than my yearly wardrobe. My only daughter. My pride. My anchor. Or so I thought. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue, but I caught the flicker of something else. Something sharp, restless, hungry. That night, when the mourners left and the house fell silent, Rachel made her move. She poured us each a glass of wine, her voice soft, almost rehearsed. "Mom, Dad left everything to me. The businesses, the accounts, the house. You're old, you don't need much. I'll take care of you." I stared at her, not understanding. Everything? Charles and I had built this life together. Every check, every sacrifice, every gray hair, shared. Surely I wasn't left with nothing. But Rachel's face hardened. "It's better this way. You won't have to worry. Malric and I will handle things. You can find somewhere to live, somewhere smaller." Find somewhere to live. My daughter, my blood, telling me to disappear. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the walls of my home, the home where I raised Rachel, whisper back at me like strangers. That was the night I lost not only my husband but also the illusion that my daughter loved me. And that was only the beginning. 2 weeks later, Rachel's tone shifted from sweet to steel. I was still in the house trying to find my footing in a world without Charles when she stormed into the kitchen. "Mom, this isn't working. Malric and I need privacy. You're in the way." I blinked at her. In the way? I was her mother. The woman who carried her, fed her, protected her from the world's cruelties. "Rachel," I whispered, "this is my home. Your father and I." She cut me off. "It was Dad's, and now it's mine. You're old, Mom. You can't keep up. You'll be happier somewhere quiet. Maybe a retirement place. Just go die somewhere comfortable." The words hit me harder than the coffin lid slamming shut at Charles's funeral. Go die somewhere. From my own daughter's mouth. Malric stood in the doorway, arms crossed, silent but smug. He didn't need to speak. His eyes said enough. He had Rachel wrapped tight around his finger, and together they were already erasing me from the picture. That night, with trembling hands, I packed a suitcase. Just 2. Clothes, photographs, the old locket Charles gave me when we were young. I walked out of that house while Rachel and Malric laughed in the living room, glasses of wine clinking like a victory toast. I checked into a roadside motel on the edge of town. The room smelled of mildew, the sheets scratchy, the silence unbearable. For the first time in my life, I was truly alone. I thought about ending it all, just slipping into nothing, the way Rachel seemed to want. But then I remembered Charles's last look at me, the way his hand squeezed mine in the hospital. I wasn't done yet. The next morning, I pulled myself together. Grief and humiliation were heavy, but something deeper kept gnawing at me. Doubt. Charles had been many things. Stubborn, controlling with money, always convinced he knew best. But cruel, he would never throw me out on the street. So I did what Rachel hadn't expected. I took the bus downtown and walked into Gregory Hale's law office. Gregory had been Charles' attorney for 30 years, a man who knew our family inside out. When he saw me, his eyebrows shot up. "Eleanor, I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Rachel told me you were traveling." Traveling. That was the story she fed him. I nearly laughed. I sat down, my hands shaking. "Gregory, I need the truth. Rachel says Charles left everything to her. Is that possible?" His expression hardened. He pulled out a thick folder, flipped it open, and slid the papers across the desk. "Let me read it to you." And there it was. Charles's will, signed, dated, notarized. My husband's handwriting, his words. He hadn't left everything to Rachel. He'd left me the house, 70% of the estate, roughly $23 million. Rachel. She was left with $10 million in a trust, but there was a catch. Her share depended entirely on how she treated me after his death. Gregory looked me straight in the eye. Eleanor, your daughter not only lied to you, she committed fraud. If she forged documents, that's criminal. And by evicting you and telling you to go die somewhere, she triggered the clause that voids her inheritance. By law, it all comes to you. $33 million. The house, every asset, all mine. Rachel hadn't just betrayed me. She'd outsmarted herself. I left Gregory's office with the weight of a lifetime lifted off my shoulders. My legs were still shaky, my stomach still knotted, but for the first time since Charles's funeral, I felt something dangerous. Power. Rachel had thrown me out like trash, certain I was powerless. She told me I was useless, irrelevant, a burden. But in reality, I was now the sole heir of $33 million and the legal owner of the very house she was redecorating as if it were hers. Gregory was clear. We'll move quickly. The courts need to see this before Rachel does any more damage. But Eleanor, be prepared. Your daughter and her husband won't go quietly. People like that never do. On the bus ride back to the motel, I stared out the window and thought about Charles. He hadn't always been kind. He'd favored Rachel, dismissed me more times than I could count. But maybe this was his final apology, his way of saying, I see you now. You mattered all along. By the time I reached my room, anger had burned away my tears. I wasn't just a grieving widow anymore. I wasn't just a mother betrayed. I was a woman with resources, leverage, and a lawyer ready to fight. Rachel thought she'd won. She thought she'd stripped me of everything and left me with nowhere to go. But she didn't know the will had teeth, and she didn't know the clause she triggered had shifted all of Charles's empire into my hands. The daughter who told me to find somewhere else to die was about to learn that I had just begun to live. And this time, I wasn't playing nice. Gregory insisted on being there when I confronted Rachel and Malric. These people aren't just greedy, Eleanor. They're dangerous when cornered. He was right. I'd seen the cold gleam in Rachel's eyes when she told me to get out. But this time, I wasn't walking in empty-handed. We pulled up to my house, and the sight nearly broke me. Rachel had ripped down my curtains, boxed up family photos, and hung a giant flat screen where Charles's grandfather clock once stood. It didn't look like home anymore. It looked like a crime scene. Rachel opened the door, irritation written all over her face. Mom, what are you doing here? Gregory stepped forward, holding the folder like a weapon. Mrs. Whitman is here because this house legally belongs to her, along with the entirety of Charles Whitman's estate. You've been lying, Rachel, and you've committed fraud. Her smile faltered. Malric's face went pale. That's not possible, Rachel snapped. Dad left it all to me. I finally found my voice. Stronger than I expected. No, Rachel, he didn't. He left you a trust, $10 million. But you ruined that. You showed the court exactly who you are the moment you told me to go die. For the first time, I saw fear in my daughter's eyes. Real fear. Malric tried to recover, puffing out his chest. This is absurd. We'll fight it. Gregory didn't flinch. Fight all you want. The law is airtight, and if you push this further, Malric, we'll bring the forgery and elder abuse charges into criminal court. The silence that followed was delicious. Rachel had played her game, but the board had shifted, and now every piece belonged to me. I wish I could tell you Rachel crumbled right then and there, admitted defeat, begged forgiveness, but that's not who my daughter is. 2 days after the confrontation, Gregory called me. His voice was clipped. Eleanor, brace yourself. Rachel and Malric are trying to file an injunction to freeze the assets. They're claiming you coerced Charles into rewriting his will. Coerced? The irony almost made me laugh. I had spent 43 years doing whatever Charles wanted, biting my tongue, letting him run the show. Now, suddenly, I was some criminal mastermind who twisted his arm for millions. It was insulting and terrifying. Gregory wasn't rattled. "We'll crush it. But understand, Eleanor, people like Rachel and Malrick don't stop at paperwork. They'll try everything. Lies, manipulation, even dragging your name through the mud publicly." And he was right. That week, Rachel called relatives across the country. My phone blew up with cousins, nieces, even Charles's sister, all whispering versions of the same thing. "Rachel says you're unstable, that you pressured Charles, that maybe you're not well." She was painting me as the crazy widow. Meanwhile, Malrick was working his Wall Street contacts, spreading rumors that I was planning to liquidate Charles's company recklessly. They thought they could isolate me, shame me, bully me back into silence. But they underestimated one thing. I wasn't scared anymore. I had been homeless, betrayed, stripped of dignity. There was nothing left they could take from me. And if they wanted war, I was ready. Because Rachel wasn't the only one who knew how to make a phone call. And the people I was about to call didn't wear suits. They carried badges. The morning the FBI came, Rachel thought it was a delivery. She opened the door in silk pajamas, holding her coffee mug, expecting Amazon. Instead, 2 federal agents in dark suits flashed badges. "Rachel Whitman, Malrick Ross, we need to ask you a few questions." I wasn't there, but Gregory filled me in later, and I savored every detail. The agents had evidence, documents Rachel submitted with Malrick's help to prove her inheritance claim. Forgeries, signatures that didn't match Charles's, dates that made no sense, Malrick's fingerprints all over the files. Fraud at the federal level isn't just a slap on the wrist, it's prison time. And suddenly, Rachel's arrogance began to crack. Gregory called me that afternoon. "Eleanor, the Bureau's involved now. This isn't just civil litigation, it's criminal. They believe Malrick orchestrated the paperwork, but Rachel signed. That ties her directly to the fraud." I sat in silence, letting the words wash over me. My daughter, my flesh and blood, facing federal charges. And yet, I didn't feel guilt. I felt justice, because she had chosen this. She had looked me in the eye and told me to go find somewhere to die. She had laughed while tossing me out of my own home. Now, she was the one being tossed out, of boardrooms, of cocktail parties, of her shiny social circle. Nobody wanted to be near a woman under FBI investigation. That night, for the first time in months, I slept through till morning. Rachel had always seen me as weak, invisible, disposable. But the FBI's knock proved what she never understood. When you strip a woman of everything, you don't destroy her. You set her free to fight back harder than you ever imagined. News travels fast when money and scandal mix. By the end of the week, Rachel and Malrick's names were splashed across financial blogs and local papers. Whitman, heiress under FBI investigation for fraud. Malrick's firm dropped him within 48 hours. No Wall Street outfit wants an executive in handcuffs. Rachel's charity board graciously accepted her resignation the same day. The two of them went from Manhattan's glittering couple to social lepers overnight. Gregory called me with updates almost daily. Malrick's facing multiple counts of wire fraud and conspiracy. Rachel may plead ignorance, but she signed documents. The Bureau won't let her walk away clean. I listened carefully, but part of me wasn't surprised. Charles had spoiled her, shielded her, let her believe the world revolved around her whims. Malrick had only fueled the fire. Together, they thought they were untouchable. Now, every phone call they made was tapped. Every friend they'd used for status vanished. The same people Rachel once boasted to at galas crossed the street to avoid her. And me? I walked back into my house, not as a guest, not as a widow scraping by, but as the rightful owner. I put my photographs back on the mantel, rehung my curtains, restored the warmth they'd tried to erase. For the first time, it felt like my home again. I wasn't gloating. This wasn't about revenge. It was about balance being restored. But I won't lie. There was satisfaction in knowing Rachel had to watch me reclaim it all. Satisfaction in knowing that every time she drove past this house, she'd see the woman she called useless standing tall in the doorway. The fall was hers. The rise was mine. Wealth doesn't change grief. It doesn't bring back Charles, or undo the years of feeling invisible in my own marriage. But what it does change, what $33 million buys, is freedom. For the first time in my life, I wasn't budgeting grocery lists or checking clearance racks. I wasn't dependent on Charles's approval or Rachel's scraps of attention. I could decide who I wanted to be, without asking permission. I hired contractors to restore the house, not remodel it into some sterile showpiece, but breathe life back into it. Fresh paint, repaired floors, a garden Charles never let me plant because he thought it was messy. I filled the rooms with color, with music, with air. I bought myself a new car. Not flashy, just reliable, comfortable, mine. I donated to charities quietly, ones that actually helped people instead of padding gala budgets. And most importantly, I began traveling. Small trips at first: Boston, Charleston, New Orleans. I walked cobblestone streets, ate food I'd never tried, stayed in hotels where nobody knew me as Charles's wife or Rachel's mom. For the first time, I was just Eleanor. Rachel tried to call once. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, her voice brittle. "Mom, I made mistakes. Can we talk?" But she hadn't called when I was sleeping in a motel with 2 suitcases and a broken heart. She hadn't cared then. Now, her words felt hollow. Forgiveness may come one day, but not yet. I had earned my peace the hard way, and I wasn't ready to hand it over. Because the truth is, Rachel had been wrong about me. I wasn't useless. I wasn't disposable. I was just getting started. I used to think my story would end quietly. A faithful wife, a dutiful mother, fading into the background until nobody remembered me. That's what Rachel expected. That's what Charles, in his own way, assumed too. But life doesn't always follow the script. Sometimes it rips the pages out and hands you a pen. When Rachel betrayed me, I thought it was the end. The end of family, the end of security, the end of me. But in reality, it was the beginning. Stripped of everything, I discovered what I should have known long ago. I was stronger than all of them combined. Rachel and Malric will face their consequences. I don't need to watch. Justice has its own rhythm, and it doesn't require my applause. My role now is different: to live fully, to claim the years that remain, and to remind myself every single morning. I was never useless. People ask me if I'll ever reconcile with Rachel. I don't know. Forgiveness isn't a gift you rush. It's something you earn, slowly, through change. Maybe she'll get there. Maybe she won't. Either way, I'm not waiting for her permission to live. My house is warm again. My garden blooms. My laughter, once buried under decades of silence, rings through these walls. $33 million didn't make me whole, but it gave me the space to find wholeness myself. I am Eleanor Whitman, widow, mother, survivor, and when my story is told, it won't be of a woman discarded by her daughter. It will be of a woman who rose from betrayal, claimed her power, and lived the life no one ever thought she could. The final word is mine.